welcome to Wham Entertainment. My name is William, and today we are going to be talking about why accordion and piano are such similar instruments. So they both have keys, but they don't work in the exact same way. If we press a key on the piano here, there is a little damper that activates inside, which hits a string in there, and there can be multiple of these strings because they're used for almost everything in the piano, from playing softly to loudly. But if we take a look at the accordion here, you can see we have these switches as well, which actually make the tones higher or lower depending on which one you do, and that's why these circles are here too. This is the lowest one, bassoon. Bandoneon is both of these, which means it's the lower and the higher, and clarinet is the other one here. But instead of just having bass notes like we do on the piano, and we can just go down like that, we actually have buttons on here for the bass, and they work like this. This whole row of keys is the counterbass button row. These are just regular notes, and some of these have divots, as you may see. These are used to symbolize some pretty major notes in the scale along the note row, but yeah. Then we have the major row right here, which basically plays the major chord. Like, so if we had a C here, it would play the C chord. And the next row is the minors, which would be like C minor here. And then we have the seventh row, which would be like C7. And then we have the diminished row. So I explained how the piano keys work, but now you're asking about the accordion keys. Well, when you press one of those, you need to be moving the bellows as well, because that's what makes the sound. And it pushes air through a reed similar to a clarinet reed, which I showed you in the last video, so go and check that one out. But it has many of those reeds, and when I showcased the things that you can push to make the sound higher or lower, it activates a different set of reeds in the accordion. So when you're just pushing a key randomly without moving the bellows, it's not going to make sound. Same with the bass buttons actually as well, but there's so many of those reeds. That's why this one's like 20 pounds. For me, it's really heavy to lift, and the case in total is so heavy because you have the accordion in it, and then you have that hard shell as well. But the piano and accordion have similar ways to making their keys work, but bass buttons are really the main difference. Instead of playing bass things on the piano, because you can just go lower or higher, it's that easy on there. On here, you need to operate the treble with the right hand while you're playing keys. And not all accordions have keys. There's some with buttons that have different scales, but I like traditional as well, and I already knew how to play the piano before I got the accordion, so I'm like, why not just take the piano accordion? So we also have this one. You just lift these knobs here, and it will open like this, but you need to push it in as well. On the accordion, we actually have latches over here. I don't know if you can see them. No, you can't. We have these latches right here, and they basically open or close depending if you want the bellows to move or not. Now in transport, you need to close those off, but I just have it randomly resting here right now, so I don't need them in. But that's also why these little vent things are here on it, And these are to make the reeds sound like they are sort of louder than they actually are. You may not think it, but the accordion can actually project very well. And my model also has some sort of gray wool thing on the back, so you can rest it up against your side without any pain. But now I will say there's more variety with the accordions than there is with the pianos, because on the piano there's one model with the 88 keys and that's it. But the accordion, you can have 120 bass button models. I have that one, but there's also 96, 72. It even goes down to 12. But once you get to those kid ones, they don't really count. But the model that I have on the accordion only has 3 of those switches, and on some models there are way more than that, but on mine there aren't. It really depends on price and model too. Like this one's a compact 120 because I didn't want it to be too heavy, but if you have a full size, those can be up to 30, maybe even 40 pounds actually. So yeah. Well, I actually didn't even mention this, but there are pedals for the bass buttons too, which can make them sound different. It can almost sound like a triad if you have this one with the little dent on, but if you just have this one on, it's the original note. Now the piano also has pedals too, but these are for different reasons. This one right here is the damper pedal. It is used to make the sound last longer, and this center one right here it sustains the bass part of the piano while it doesn't do it for the top. It's kind of hard to explain that pedal. But the one all the way on the left basically blocks the sound by putting a sort of barrier in front of it, so it doesn't sound like it at all. I'll give you a little demonstration. So the right one, it sounds so bad because I'm really sitting on the edge of my seat here, literally. But if we do the center one, we can have it resonate like that, and the one to the far left. And it's really not a major difference from the rest of the piano. But another thing I'd like to talk about is number of keys. Now, the accordion obviously has way less than the piano, but the pianos are also bigger. You create some sort of muscle memory while on the piano for the size of an octave is about this big. But on the accordion it's really this big, so that's a little bit harder because you need to change some of your old habits. But the keys are also not made of the same material, obviously, because it doesn't really have a ton of room to have the reed sections under there, so you can't have anything too thick. But another thing is they're slant, so they are very slanted. So yeah, that's a little bit, it's kind of frustrating in a way, because you not like you'd play an accordion like you would a piano like this. You play it sideways, but if you're playing sideways and you go a little bit too high on one of the notes, there is a very sharp slant downward into the thing, and that could make you miss a note, especially if you're in a, I don't know, concert, not really concert, but thing with your friends, maybe playing the accordion. But so that slanting I was talking about right here it's this little bend, and when you're holding it sideways, it's almost vertical, but this is slanted down. So that is kind of frustrating, like I said in the part just before this. But on here, you just have them flat, and you can just play a scale all the time and not have a problem with any slanting issues. But they have a sharp ascent right here, but they're generally flat throughout the entire thing. And normally you play them up here too and not down here, so you can play easy songs like this. And so on and so forth. Lastly, I'd like to talk about this entire button row. So on this diagonal here, this is how the keys work. So like, let's say on C here, and it goes up like this, not straight up like you might have been thinking. But when you need to move the bellows in and out too, and you put your hand in this, you need to move around quickly, so that's why they have that specific design to them. Especially on these too, actually, because that little bent shape is really just so your fingers don't slide off when they're on here and leave the keyboard when you're playing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to ring the bell so you get notified whenever I release a new video on these instruments. And I hope you guys had a fun time watching this video. And yeah, that's all for today. Bye.